Hey, Alice. How's it going?
Oh, I didn't see you come in, Alice. You're on the satellite with us tonight.
Yeah. Welcome in. I see you just let yourself in.
It's all groovy. I trust you, Alice. I'm prepping something up, Alice. We're in the middle of playing a game of chess. We're just beginning it. Alrighty. Oh, that's right. You set up my side.
You'll do that, right?
Yeah. How much chess have you played, Alice?
I used to play with my cousin a lot. I played with Philip a lot. And played with Lazy. I guess I played a lot, like, as a teenager. I haven't played chess since last time we played it here at the tea party, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen Code Geass?
Anime?
Yeah. He came on Toonami back in the day, like 05, 06.
It sounds familiar. I may have.
It's basically Gundam, but, like, the guy... Well, I say that, there's mecha. It's not basically Gundam.
Right,
It's a very strategic tactician kind of mecha anime.
Right.
So that's why I'm putting it in that category.
Okay.
Very like
Right.
Yeah.
Well, mecha, you kind of can only go.
There's only so much
far.
Yeah.
It's pretty much.
So the
galactic kind of shit.
The gimmick with this one is the main character has this ability that any one time he can look you in the eyes and give you an order, and you have to the best of your ability, fulfill that order. He can do that one time to anybody. I mean, he can do it to everybody, but he can only do it
only one
once.
time to each person.
And I think it's probably my favorite. You'd love the main character. You've seen Death Note.
Most of them.
It gets compared to Death Note a lot because that's a very cat and mouse kind of strategic kind of thing. But like, I don't like it when people compare the two because Lelouch is so much better than L or Light.
Right.
He's a fucking genius. And that's what's cool about that show too, is like he makes mistakes. It's very, like, he takes a lot of calculated risks, but you know, sometimes that doesn't go the way you think it's gonna, you know, sometimes shit goes down and you don't expect it. And like, oh, I got off track. The reason I brought it up, in the first episode, these two guys are playing chess for money.
Right.
And the one guy is in a tight spot. He knows he's about to lose. So the main guy walks in and is like, let me pick up for you. So he sits in on a game that's already like halfway progressed. And the first thing he does is he takes the king and moves it one forward. And everyone's like, why would you make that move? And he's like, how can a king expect his subordinates to follow if he doesn't make the first step? And you're just like, oh shit, I know where this show's going. It's like the perfect, because that's the first episode before anything really goes down, and it's like, yeah, this is who this guy is. You know what I'm saying?
That's funny.
Yeah, but I love they had to create that situation though, because like you can't lead with your king in chess, so he. It's only clever if you don't think about it. Right. Oh, is it my go?
Yep.
Do you have like a single favorite anime?
Um, I have favorite. Well, I usually don't have favorites in general of anything because I'm just kind of funny like that. But I have favorite anime films, and then I have series that I really like. You know what I mean? As far as films go, Akira is probably one of my favorite
Hmm.
anime films. Vampire Hunter D, the first one,
Hmm.
is one of my favorites. Um, some of the newer stuff I've seen some newer ones that I really like, but I just don't remember the titles of them because with streaming now, stuff comes on
Hmm.
and you start watching it before you even know what the title is, or you know.
I fell off of keeping up with like what was coming out after a while, and it started feeling really like played out. Like I feel like a lot of the stuff that's coming out now is like
Where
I've seen it before.
it's contrived.
Yeah.
It's they found genres, the niche genres that were in Japan, thousands of them, kind of turned into specific top popularity, rose to the top here. So we have 5 or 6 that we see here, like harem, reverse harem, you know, um, a lot more now, very boy group, where it's not necessarily erotic.
It's like a shoujo thing for young women.
Yeah, but you could see, and from what I understand, in Japan, that's what it is. It's for young women, but you could see where the community here, like a gay community here, would lift it up because they would, enjoy watching that like
Yeah.
that. So because it's kind of the same
And
thing. So American culture, I think,
Mm.
really kind of specifically grabs hold of what it's going to out of these niches
I gotcha.
and shoots it up.
So it's not like shoujo anime are popular here. It's like specific ones pop off, and it's not necessarily the like.
We don't see it as shoujo. We don't see it as harem. We
Yeah.
don't see it as that. We see it, as
So shoujo is a demographic, and I think that just means like young woman. I think
right,
like shonen is young man.
right.
Like, and then there's others like seinen is I think that's adult men.
Right. And I don't know a lot of the different ones. I just started seeing them recently where they would talk about it. And I'd read in like new types and stuff where I'd be reading and I'd be like, what is it? You'd see a term and you'd be like, oh, that's what it's translated here and that's what they're calling this genre.
Right.
But the translation, I mean, it's like, well, like hentai translates to pervert. That's all it translates to. It doesn't mean what we know it as meaning. It doesn't mean pornographic anime. It literally just means pervert.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's what I don't think genres are looked at the same way in other cultures as we've done to them here necessarily.
So there's like a difference between a genre and a demographic, right? So like,
well, yeah,
they do have like genre, like mecha,
right?
And a lot of mecha anime are going to be shonen.
Okay, all right. Well, yeah, like the demographic being who like to watch it.
So like we don't really, you're right, we don't really have demographics in that sense here. We don't put it in categories of like this is what, well, it's kind of like frowned upon here, where it's like these games are made for girls.
Right.
And these games are made for guys, whereas like that's kind of, maybe that's changing there too. I don't know.
It could be.
But that's, yeah, I think we kind of just let people figure out what demographic they are without, it's kind of a weird thing to put people in a box like that, actually. Right. But I mean, I guess if you're marketing though, like if you're like you are designing something for
I really think America as a culture has become more diverse over the years. Because when I was coming up, like hip hop, rock, punk, metal, all these things were very seen out. And there was, like myself, there was a few people like me, there were a handful of people that liked a lot of different stuff. But when you hung with certain people, You know, there's buddies of mine that were metalheads. I didn't listen to any hip hop around them because they weren't into that and they didn't give a shit about it. Maybe one or two of them did. Same thing. If I was hanging out with some cats that like hip hop, they didn't want to hear anything about no metal, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I would meet guys that would tell me, man, I don't listen to nothing but rap, or I don't listen to nothing but metal, or I don't. And I'm like, you end up putting yourself in your own box, and it's because they, at that, especially in the youth, they're identifying. That's their method of identifying. Now it's so easily to get online and project your own identity for the world that, you know, now it's like everybody's like, you know, as I started getting older, more and more people, not just my age, but even kids, were like, oh, I like all kind of music. Which is also, I listen to everything, which is also kind of BS, because nobody listens to everything. I'm like, oh, really? You like Disney for show tunes?
It's quick. Well, yeah, I think it's flawed with the question, too. It's like, what kind of music do you like? I mean, how much time you got?
Right.
It's much easier to just say, I like everything.
Right. Well, I just tell people.
Oh, yeah, you like Norwegian.
Right. I tell people real simply, I only listen to good music.
Yeah.
Just like the music I play, I only play good music.
Yeah.
What kind of music do you play, Neif? Good music.
And so... yeah.
Oh, it's my girl.
It's such a shit-eating answer, but I love it. It's like... yeah.
I mean, you know who my favorite band is?
You?
No, my rhythm section.
Yeah.
I'm not the band.
That's my favorite band, too.
And then my favorite songwriter is me. I say everything that I would expect to say.
Mm-hmm. The way you would say it.
All the changes in the songs are exactly what I would have done.
Mm-hmm.
It speaks to me. I speak to me.
Yeah. Man, this guy knows what I'm feeling. This guy knows exactly how I feel.
Usually.
Yeah, not all the time.
I get a couple of numbers that kind of stretch out there.
Yeah.
But, wow.
I mean, if you don't like what you do, why are you doing it?
Right.
If you don't, I mean, I don't put anything out that I don't think is good.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. I think that's a big percentage of success is
I don't know.
presenting yourself with confidence.
You know, it's funny is like I don't know if I can agree, like with, like personally with, like well, I guess what I'm saying is I don't know if I could say that too, where it's like I only listen to good music. It's not true. I listen to some fucking. I know you know. Hey, at least I know, right?
But at the same time, that's good and bad when it comes to something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's an opinion. It's a sonic opinion. Now, you know, if somebody's literally playing out of key.
I was playing some garbage in the car earlier.
Right.
Yeah.
And when things are playing out of key, well, not everything you're playing was garbage.
No, I mean, but well, shout out to Little Darky.
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't bad. That was interesting.
That was experimental.
Yeah,
that was cool. Actually,
I dug,
some of what he was doing was really cool.
Right, I dug the whole like I can't melody to this, and then he kind of melodied himself.
Yeah,
you know,
I like that. Yeah, it was the first one I put on. Wasn't that great?
Yeah, I mean, you know, stuff that's just niche and kind of like, all right, if I've heard it before, then it's got to be something, you know. It's like I can listen to Led Zeppelin all day, and it's like, well, some of their stuff sounds like their other stuff. I'm like, well, yeah, because that's a band, but
yeah,
I can still just hear it without, you know, and really, and it doesn't come across to me, even though it's so old that it's its own niche. It doesn't come across to me as contrived, or I'm just doing this to make it this song like this.
We talking about that artist in the car?
Yeah, well,
yeah,
I was comparing it to
something
like the reason why,
interesting.
you know, like I just, you know, Zeppelin I threw out as a comparison because It's
Oh.
commonly known band.
Mhm.
They're known as a sound. They're known as a thing.
Right, Nirvana.
Yeah, but you could say literally the
Yeah.
same thing because there's people that can't stand Led Zeppelin.
Mm.
They think it sucked. They think whatever, but it just sonically doesn't appeal to them.
Well,
You know?
well, that's
That's
when we're
somebody-
getting into, like, that's an opinion.
Right.
Yeah, you have your opinion on it, and then there's like, but then there's what you said.
But if you sonically,
I only
if
listen
you're
to
playing-
good music,
Right.
and that's like, well, I mean, as a musician, I'd hope so. As a
Right.
sound engineer, I would hope so.
Well, sometimes I have to listen to bad stuff. You know, they're like,
Yeah.
yeah, if I'm turning it down, you know, to work with it. You know, if I've turned stuff down before.
Unfortunately, sometimes you have to listen to it to know what's like popping.
Right. And
Yeah.
well, that's also the other thing is, you know, some of the pop that I hear on the radio.
It's like,
is
man,
I'm
this shit is
man,
garbage."
Not just garbage, but you know what? That's what I gotta make.
Hey,
You know,
that's what the kids are banging.
you
so.
know, make that mailbox money.
Yeah.
Yes, Alice, I'm trying to go on tour. All the way down my
You've-
sidewalk of my front yard and to my mailbox. That's gonna be a
You heard it here first. Neif's trying to sell out.
yeah.
Yeah.
Entire catalog, Alice. You want to buy any of them? If I ain't got something you like, I'll write you something up.
Alice has had enough songs written about her.
Yeah. Except by me, I haven't written any songs about Alice.
Okay, maybe there's room for one more.
Maybe. I don't know. If you ask me nice enough, Alice. Careful with that action, Gene. It's your go.
How's it mine?
Mm-hmm.
You're sneaky. I didn't see that. I see it now.
I need chess piece. That's what I need to look up. Is chess piece molds. Then I could make breakable ones, and when we take them, we could mallet them and just, you know, capture pieces.
No, we just need to.
It's a very interesting strategy there.
We just need to gather like 40 peasants and get a big one.
I thought I've for years wanted to do a human one.
Oh,
Yeah.
peasants.
Have
Oh,
you ever
peasants.
seen History of the World Part 1? Mel Brooks?
Uh-uh.
Shout out to Mel Brooks. I think he passed, but phenomenal comedian. Original. History of the World Part 1. I don't think they ever made a Part 2. They had a advertisement for it at the end of Part 1. But I don't think they made a Part 2 ever. Yeah, it's a parody. Going through history. With a lot of old, like now they're old, I mean, a lot of classic, great comedic actors and what have you from back in the day. And they do, I believe it's the French Revolution, when they get to the French Revolution, the king that's what he has going on in the courtyard. Is he's sitting up on these big towers and calling on the megaphones, you know, yelling, "Queen to such and such," you know. And that's, of course, very silly and quite a fiasco. Excellent film if you ever get a chance to see that, Alice. History of the World Part 1 by Mel Brooks. I mean, you really don't need history class after that. It pretty much runs it through everything for you real quick. Well, that's an interesting strategy, I must say. Not familiar.
I don't do strategy.
Well,
I'm just wata. I just flow.
oh, alright.
Hard to do when you go first. Too hard to be responsive when you go first.
Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. I mean, you could be laying the obvious duck for a reason, but I don't know. I must spring trap. Do you know why it is that a computer cannot beat a man in a simple game of chess? I mean, it can.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it can now. Absolutely.
It can, but that's argued with human assistance. And we're also talking about tournament play by score. I'm talking about a direct one-on-one game.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it consistently can now. When's the last time you looked at that?
Well, I don't know. It's what the idea is that there might not be anybody that can beat one now. They might have made it, but the idea.
It's because it overthinks it, right? It starts.
It doesn't understand sacrifice. It doesn't understand when it's taught chess by point score and by value. It doesn't understand. And you can teach it these things, and you can teach it these strategies, but for it to apply them, it goes against the grain of the game. So it's hard for them to do that, and so what you inevitably do is you can eventually trick the computer out of its own logic. Almost like playing bad, or playing wrong from what it would think, because you're letting it take pieces.
I think that's the guy that beat Deep Blue. I think that's how he did it.
Kasparov initially did that with the first one. That's what they found with that. Deeper Blue beat him, but they argued whether or not
there was some shady shit going on with that. They studied him, and they wouldn't let him play mock of the.
Well, that, and also the computer's being run by 4 or 5 guys.
Yeah, they're feeding it his strategies too.
They're feeding it stuff, and it's not.
They were just trying to. They just wanted to win.
Right, and it's one of those things where it's like, well, I mean, yeah, you can build a machine to do this and that, but the whole idea is, without you putting the knowledge that you've got into it, an AI is only going to get as smart as everything we know. Now, what it can do with that knowledge, that's the scary shit.
Mm-hmm.
Because we know so much now.
Speaking of AI, it's like, it's an old one, but me and David were watching a clip out of the Joe Rogan Elon Musk. Did you ever watch that?
Oh yeah, I watched it when that happened.
Do you remember? I don't know if I just forgot or like, maybe I'd never seen it, but he's so fucking depressed, man. When they start talking about Matrix concepts, like he's like, and at one point he's like, I don't wish, like, you don't want to be me.
Right.
I don't want to be me. It's too much. It's like he is thinking about all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
And like when you ask him about it, like it's already running through his head, and it's depressing him. Like basically they're talking about like the chances of this being base reality are like basically none.
Right.
Because he's like, one of two things is going to happen. We're either going to get to a point where our video games are indistinguishable from reality,
yeah,
or we're going to kill ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
One of those two things is going to happen. So, if that's possible, the chances of us being in base reality are like slim to none.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, I'm not explaining anything you don't know.
Well, you gotta think about it this way.
But
as we dumb down ourselves, we don't need to hunt. We don't need to go do things. We don't need security as much. As we get to the point when we literally are kind of like, what was it, Wall-E? You ever see that? The robot on Earth, and it's all dirty, and everybody's up in the ships, and they're all huge and floating around, because when we get to the point where we're literally we don't have to do anything to eat or be secure, then all we have to do is entertain ourselves. And then, what is there to do?
I think.
And then it's like, well, I can't get up and go outside because it's dangerous. I can't get up and do anything that's dangerous. If I stay here, I'm as safe as I can be. And organisms actually try to do that. That's what evolution is. That's what things evolve to its surroundings so it can survive in that surrounding better. If it gave it enough time, nature doesn't let that happen because nature is perfectly imperfect. Taoism. You gotta let it just flow.
Yeah. Okay, here's a rabbit hole for you. I think.
And it's your go.
I'm just gonna drop the hammer on me like that.
No, the hammer's over here.
Oh. I think.
I didn't do anything. They were quarreling a little bit, and she wanted
okay.
to get some space from them because he probably said something she didn't like.
He was spending too much time with his bishop and his horse. It's getting weird.
Yeah, yeah.
She's hanging out with the rook now.
Right. She's like, I'm gonna come holler at you for a minute.
Oh, Lancelot. You like that reference? Hope you got that, Alex. And Sean Connery comes out and he's like, my woman.
Yes.
What was I saying? I think. So another thing they were talking about that got me fucking depressed also is he's like, why are we here if this is worse? You know what he's saying? It's like,
oh, right.
we're here because that shit's boring. You know?
Yeah.
And
it goes back to the concept of why do gods want to be humans?
uh-huh.
You know.
Yeah, limitations.
Pleasure is nothing if you don't know what pain is.
Well, and I'm gonna dumb that down even more. Why does God want to be human? Like, I'm extrapolating it to a single source, and I think that's what I was actually getting at. Is I think as we're gonna progress, what we're gonna see is, like with Neuralink and all that, we're gonna be moving so fast. Because, like, David was like, won't it be boring, like, if you and I had Neuralink? It's like, it takes us so much time to work out our differences, but we'll just be instantly. And I'm like, well, that's not really how it works, because you'll be branching off of all these different rabbit holes that you never would have considered before. So, conversation's not going to get boring, it's going to expand outwards, right? But, at a certain point, it will. It will all converge back. And what that's going to look like is like hive mind consciousness, where we all agree. What I'm getting at is
when the language expands itself out so much that it actually covers everything, and we don't really need it anymore. That's kind of like the universe going out and then coming back. It is an interesting concept.
You get what I'm going with this, where it's like,
well, think about English, because English is used so vastly, even though it technically isn't the most used language on the planet. It's still known more, and more things are, almost everything is translated in English, and English is known to have. It's something that you can. Songs and poetry and descriptions on things are a whole nother world in English, because we use slang and we have so much derivatives and we have all these different things like that. And then you look at like Asian languages like Japanese where there's so many different phrases, so many different vast things that that's way more complex than English, but English is still more complicated because it's so
loose.
Right. So,
It's
you
like
say
there's so
that's
many
bad or
connotations.
that's badass, just that simple
Yeah.
thing alone. And then you take it from that point and
Right.
it goes completely.
It's like all
apeshit.
inflection and
Right.
yeah.
And
You see where I'm headed with this.
Right.
It's once we agree about everything, we might as well all be the same person.
Right.
And I think that is where we came from, is we are all life is the same thing. It's all the same soul. And it's here because it's lonely. It wants to interact.
Right.
The reason we did this is to forget that. We don't want to know that.
Right.
We don't. It's profoundly depressing.
Right.
It's very lonely. So we create this to experience people,
Right.
spirits,
Differentiation.
So
Experience.
I think
in general.
So like what happens though when we merge back together in this reality, when we enter the matrix, not the matrix, when we all upload our consciousness to this AI, and all of a sudden we're so intelligent that we couldn't really disagree on these things because we're all so smart that we've got it figured out.
Right.
So there is like a singularity you hit again where
Right.
like you're saying, it opens and closes. So what happens then is we create a fucking simulation and we try to forget it. We dump
Right.
ourselves into it and try to fucking forget that again.
Right. I think it's boring.
And then we do it again, and we do it again, and we do it again. So sorry, Alice. Sorry I just broke the game.
No, you didn't break the game. We're still playing.
You're right, man. This is what we're here to do, right?
Right.
You're right, man.
It's your go. The game ain't broken. But I have mallets if we need to.
I'm enjoying the game, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I
haven't played in quite a while. I don't think I've played since I helped our guest that time get prepared to do the one y'all did. When y'all did that one, that's been so long ago, I don't remember it that well. But yeah, I think that was the last time I actually played another human. I played on a computer a little bit.
Have we ever played chess before?
I don't think so.
Huh. Yeah, I'm just realizing I don't really know how you play either. I've watched you play, and you've watched me play, but
I didn't watch you play that much. Yeah, you played.
Were you not on that episode?
I wasn't on it for the most of it. I think I ran it from over here, maybe. But yeah, because I was here. I remember being here, but I was on with him, letting him warm up with a game with me, and that's when he said he wanted to actually play me a game. But you know.
So, if what I'm saying is, if there's any truth in what I'm saying about this matrix concept, right?
Right.
Why is this matrix so unnecessarily, like, what I mean is, like, humans being here is, like, a very short window, and, like, why create all that backstory? You know what I'm saying? Not only that, the sandbox is fucking ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
So why create just for? Is it
Well, think
for
about this.
atmosphere? Is it to make it real?
Think about Think about the pyramids in Egypt, okay? And what a lot of people believe for discovery over the years, that it's much older than they were. The Nile actually ran up next to them. They got aqueducts to run down. Now, when people were talking about, well, they had to be like tombs or something like that, because nobody's going to build something that vast, right? Well, then you look at the concept of them saying, you know, if you run water over certain metals, you'll cause a current, but it's so minute, wouldn't matter, unless it was done on some massive, ridiculous scale. Things like that, naturally, to generate power. And when you think about things, energy, not just power. Power is a term about the use of energy and energy doing something and how much it can do, you know, but the power behind it. Energy itself as a thing is it's such a major thing to be able to harness that. That's why I talk about the harnessing of fire. The fact that we can harness fire, we turn that into the fact that we could literally create energy. We have it coming out of the fucking walls, you know? And, but when you learn about how these things are created with turbines and different ways these things are generated, it's no different than why they say horsepower, you know? Because a horse is out there pulling.
It's like a natural metric for us
muscles
to measure it
generate
off
heat.
of. Oh, okay.
You know, it's
Yeah, I got
heat,
you.
it's power, it's motion, it's energy, it's movement, it's action. You know, it's life, it's living, it's something doing. It's not just empty dead space. If life itself, not just humanity, but life as a thing, is so majorly complex on the level of like science and energy, if it took the Egyptians to build great giant fucking pyramids to just generate enough juice to run whatever the fuck they were running, imagine what it would take beings or an entity to create something like life. You need something very vast. You need something very separated out. You need something, you need have all these angles and these things happening.
So it's necessary, would be the... I didn't think about that.
I mean, you got to think about the complications of what if there was another alien species on another planet in our solar system that we just bebopped into out of nowhere after billions of years. It would not be a good thing, no matter what. Even if they were completely peaceful and groovy, we're not. You know?
Yeah.
And you already see the problems in, and this gets crossed up with a lot of people in society about whether or not, you know, this talks about cultural blending, but scientifically, you're not, it's kudzu. What kudzu became to mean comes from the plant name. Kudzu, a kudzu, when you're in a kudzu, it means you try to do something. It's like one step forward, 5 steps back. You tried to do something to fix an issue and it caused a complete other fuck off somewhere else. It's a kudzu. They got that because when they brought kudzu over from, I think, somewhere in Asia, I think, they saw that it had a strong root system and it would grow fast. And they brought it to America and they planted it by the railroad tracks because they wanted to keep the erosion down. They didn't understand it didn't grow naturally here. There was nothing that defended against it here. Nothing that could combat it, and it took off. And now when you see fields of it, it pulls over trees and it will just fucking kill an entire area. And it grows so fast, it can grow a fucking inch or so a night.
Wow,
I think it's like
really?
an inch, yeah.
Wow.
It's crazy fast growth. It can grow.
What?
I want to say it, and we got to look that up. Don't quote me on that, but it's
Something crazy like that.
it's something crazy like an inch a night. It can grow.
Jeez.
Goats love it because they like fresh growth. So
It's like,
but it grows and grows and grows
wow.
because our climate here was just too perfect.
That's like visible growth.
Japanese
Almost.
beetles, the same concept. Stink bugs, same family. Nothing eats them. Wherever they're from, something there eats them.
Right, I got you.
So they're not that big of a deal. There's
You moved it
nothing
to a
here
different-
that eats.
Yeah.
They stink if you get near them or you freak them out. They get this weird smell, so no human wants to
It's
fuck
a
them.
natural ecosystem, and you took it out and put
And
it in a
now
different
they got
ecosystem.
here, and they can devastate your crops because nothing wants to eat them. You know?
Right, or can.
Yeah, my late cat Paul Ray used to eat all kind of bugs, but stink bugs. He just like, you know, he wanted nothing to do with that. Nothing.
He doesn't have millions of years of backstory
Right.
to with that stink bug.
Right. He's like, I don't know you.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's how that works.
hmm
But, well,
So, yeah, that's actually an answer I hadn't considered. Is that the reason it's so crazy is because it's necessary.
yeah.
In
Like,
in the sorry.
necessary, and that's, you know, it makes me think of an old Tool song. As like a bonus track, and he's like, "This is necessary. Life feeds on life, feeds on life." Like,
Oh shit.
right?
Yeah.
Crazy shit. But that, you know, kind of goes back to tundra law. It goes back to the idea of the outcome. I mean, look at the game. Got nothing but love for you, but we're playing a game. The object of the game is a win.
hmm
You don't know how I play. You know I'm a pretty groovy dude, but you don't know how fucking cutthroat I am. I believe that's checkmate.